Hi there, this is Marcos again with Maven Imaging. Today we're going to go over the Opal-Rad 2020 imaging software. This is the acquisition software. Maybe if you're getting a X-ray system set up in your office, we're providing you the 2020 imaging acquisition software. Now that is going to come with a few different tool sets that's going to help you make some different measurements on the studies and the images that you take with your X-ray system. You can also use different software that tie into the Opal-Rad software, the Viewer 2020 software. That's going to allow you to view studies from different computers on your network into this X-ray system. So we'll go ahead and get started here. We're going to go over to the desktop shortcut for the Opal-Rad imaging 2020 imaging software. You're going to put in your username and your password. This is going to be sent to you, or it'll be in the documentation that comes along with the software. Default a lot of times is site admin, and then the password is 1 through 9. So the first thing that you're going to see here is going to be your study list. This is going to be a list of all the studies that you have taken in descending order, in order of the time and date of the study. And you can always change the order if you would like. So now it's listing oldest to newest, and now it looks like we are looking at newest to oldest. Yes, okay. So this shows you a list of every study that we have taken, that we have put into the system, whether it has images or not. Now that you can also see here, sometimes we can put in files that are incomplete, that we don't have all of the images in, or that we don't have images in at all. Maybe we're setting up for the next day, things like that. So here you can see the number of images that are in the actual study. And then it'll show you just a multitude of information here. You've got this specific workstation is set up as it has some vet settings, so disregard the animal name portions here. So you've got, so this would be client name, date of birth, this would be client ID, and then everything else is pretty much the same. Study description, this is going to be preset by some of the settings that you set in the acquisition portion itself. These are all automatically filling as well. So we're going to show you how to create a new study and how to expose patients, take images, and then go back through and begin making small measurement markings on each image and so forth. You hit create new study, and then this is going to ask you for some detailed information. We're going to enter in some generic information here. Animal name, this is going to be client name. This would show up on a normal system as client name. We're actually just going to do first name. Now date of birth, this one you have to select on the first field. There's a couple ways you can enter it. You can do month and then hit slash, or you can do month and then click on the next section and then click on the next section, whichever you prefer. And then our accession number, a lot of times people will use ID plus appointment number. So we'll say this is the first appointment for this test subject. And then some different things here. Now, a lot of these things, if this is the first time you're running your software, we are going to be entering this in right now. So the owner of the practice, we'll say that is Chad. The Institution name we'll say is Maven Imaging. And once you have those things input, you hit add. Oh, I'm sorry, it's the other way around. Okay, I see, okay. So if this is the first time that you're running your software, you're going to want to add some information. So the first thing that you're going to want to add, and this will show up in different areas of your images. The owner name, you're going to hit add, and then you're going to input different information here. So we'll say Chad, and we'll add, and then once that is input, then we have that information available to us to select. Institution name, same thing. Species, this won't show up for you. Breed won't show up on a typical, on a standard system. And then body part and descriptions, these different things. There are going to be some presets, but you can also add whichever you'd like. So for our test today, we're just going to make some different selections here. And we'll hit acquire. And that's going to bring up our acquisition window. Now on the top left, you're going to see that our DR panel is not initialized. That's because we're running a virtual DR panel. So disregard that for our purposes. For what you're going to see up here is going to show something like waiting for exposure, waiting to expose, something along those lines. On the left side here, you're going to make your selections. It's going to give you different anatomy options, and these can also be changed in the settings later on if you want to add things or remove things, things like that. So we'll go ahead with some spinal, take cervical, and then you can go AP. You can basically label it whichever way you'd like. So we'll say a lateral, and then you basically would just hit acquire, and this is going to connect to the DR panel and tell it to wait for an exposure, and it's going to give you about 30 seconds to expose that patient, and then the image is going to show up here on the right side. You can take multiple acquisitions. You would just have to if you wanted to say take different laterals of each section of the spine, you can do that. You would just hit the different anatomy and then hit acquire again, and then take another exposure and continue that way. You've got a couple different annotations that you can make. All of these you can also make in the annotation and toolset system that I'm going to show you in a different video. So once you've taken your images, you can go ahead and hit exit, and then you can send and manipulate your study from here. So here, once we've got our study uploaded, we're actually going to switch to a different one that actually has images. There's a couple different options that you have here on the bottom left side. Now open, that's just going to open the study itself for you to be able to manipulate in the tool set. Again, we're going to go over this in a different video, so I don't want to go over this too much, but you've got different options like invert, rotations, flips. You can reset zooms, you can set zooms, you can set zoom windows, you can make arrow marks, remove certain things. You can measure things real quick and easy, make some different angle measurements. So say we wanted to measure this against level, and then you can change where the annotation shows up. You've got cob angles. This is just real quick and easy overview. Left and right marks. Text you can also set, and then you can move things around. If you are finding yourself not able to move things around, then most likely you don't have this do not keep last created annotation active on, so make sure this is on. So that basically means each time that you set something, then it gives you the ability to manipulate it right afterwards. Okay, so we'll go over that a lot more continuing, but we'll go ahead and delete all this stuff, and we will close the study. Okay, then you've got import CD. This one is going to, if you have a CD that is inserted into the computer itself, then you can go ahead and hit select file folder, and then you'll navigate to that CD by going to this PC, going down to devices and drives, and then it would be in your E drive or whichever you have your DVD drive set to. You would double click that and then kind of navigate it to find the DICOM files that you would want to import. Once that's done, then you would hit import, and there are a couple different options that you have here. You can give us a call on some of these more advanced options, but it's pretty straightforward. You just select the DICOM files and then hit import, and then it'll import into whatever file that you've got selected. Import JPEG, that's very similar. You would hit import, and then you would just go through and then find the image on your computer, hit open, add into a single series, and then hit OK, and see that image count just hopped up to 5. And you can see on the left side here, now we have that imported image. You can also use your scroll wheel to change between each image in this viewer. See, there now we have the imported image. So go ahead and close that back. You've got a placeholder, CD burn. This one is going to be, if you do have a DVD drive set up and you do want to do discs, then you would select your study. You would go through here, make sure that a correct drive is set up and you've got an empty disk in there. You would label it, and then you would select what you store as. Any of these are almost exactly the same. They're unidentifiably different. Annotation overlay, this is just going to drag over the overlays that you have in your annotations on the actual file itself. Anonymize, that'll anonymize everything. On the patient side, you wouldn't see any of the patient information. And then you would go ahead and hit start burning, and it would show you your progress, and then once that's complete, it would show you when to eject the DVD. You would eject the DVD, and then we would recommend testing it to make sure the images are actually on the disk, and then you can go ahead and close there. Alright, now we have the scan paper tool. Here is going to give you the ability to actually scan different paper trail items, like an ID or an insurance card, different things like that, that will go along with the patient documentation. So you would select which file, you would highlight which file you want it to go with, and then put in which item of documentation this would be, select your device. Alright, now if you do have a network scanner on the network, then that's the only way that this is going to work. You're going to hit primary insurance, or it could be connected to the computer itself. You would hit select device, that would bring up an option of which device to use. You would hit scan, that would bring up a list of which device to use. You would then hit quick scan or scan, that'll give you different previews and things like that. You would hit finished, and then that is going to save not only to that file, but also to the background database of all of that individual's information. So we'll move on from there. You've got compare. You can select multiple files and then hit compare. And then that's going to show you one study in comparison to another study. We'll cover more on that later. DICOM Print, that is going to assume that you do have a DICOM printer on the network. You're going to hit DICOM Print. it's going to give you the option of what to print. You can, on the left side, check and uncheck whatever you would and not like to print, and then you can give your layouts of whatever you want on the same page, on different pages, you know, different things like that. You would first hit available printer. That was going to drop down, and then you would select whichever printer you have connected on the network or on the computer itself, and then you would go ahead and hit print after selecting whichever detailed information you want included. We are not going to do that because we don't have it connected. You have refresh, unread. There's ways that you can mark these if you're working with you know, multiple technicians or radiologists and things like that. Then you can mark things as read and unread and use things that way. If you want to add a new image to an existing study, say we wanted to add something to this top file up here, you would hit add new image. That's just going to open up the acquisition software once again, and then you would just go through and acquire the image as we showed before. Okay, and then on the right side, that's going to show you different ways to get just to hop around on different pages. Okay, if you do need help, hitting the help button up on the top right is going to take you to the 2020 imaging site for help documentation. On the different tabs here, you've got settings, and these are real simple settings. This is just going to give you, it's going to show you different data that you can show on that first study list, each on these columns here. If you wanted to change those, then you can do that. It's also going to show you different settings for what to display. So if you wanted to change how many rows show up every time you open the software, you can do that by changing that here. Sort column, that's going to show you which column is sorted once you open the software by default. Row numbers, different things. That's all very simple information there. Queues, this is going to show you, so if you're exporting and sending studies to radiologists and different things like that, then this is where you're going to see those things being sent, whether that is completed, uncompleted, whether it was successful or not. That's going to show you everything under here. That's also going to show you under, you're also going to see that the printer queue is here, so if you wanted to make some prints, then it would show you whether that was sent to the printer or not, or if it was caught up in this queue. Transfer log, same thing. Unassigned, that is going to show you a list of all of the unassigned studies that are input into the system but have not been assigned to a technician. So that's just an easy way to find lost files, basically. And then you've got the admin section here, which we don't really recommend unless you know a lot about the software. We don't recommend that you really make too many changes here. But this is how you add new users if you don't want to just use the default site admin access login. And we'll go over this in a different video as well, but this is just to show you simple stuff and where it is. And that is going to about wrap it up. So that's just a short overview on how to use the Opal-Rad 2020 Imaging Acquisition software. Once you're done, you can go ahead and hit log off and exit out, and you're just back on your desktop. So we thank you for watching our overview videos. As always, give us a call at 1-800-949-8015, option number 2. And you have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you.